If you've turned on the internet in the last 24 hours or something, you've probably seen somewhere the news that Aquaman 2 is doing really bad. The predictions for opening weekend are really low, not many pre-sales anywhere, and now critics are saying it's not so good. Kind of surprising they've got a 78% audience score. Usually, I agree with the audience and not the critics. But it seems the critics here are saying it's bad. Then again, it is Rotten Tomatoes, so take it with a grain of salt, but let's see what some people are saying. Before I start, thank you to Extra Pencil who gave me a super comment chat basically. It's much appreciated. By the way, Extra Pencil might be a different name. I'm only seeing my studio. But anyway, thank you. Gotta keep moving. Richard Cruz says Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom has its moments. Stick around for the amusing mid credit scene, but the script's choppy waters and a low stakes storyline offer a low reward. Sounds pretty bad. And if you just take a look back without reading for a second, you could see lots of rotten there, not as much fresh. David Fear says, from Rolling Stone, who's a top critic, a tonal mess dogged by VFX that range from video game cutscene to last minute rush job. that's pretty good. Complicated yet curiously thin storytelling and endlessly aggressive rib nudging. Okay, I know what David's saying here. He's saying basically they're setting up things and talking with complicated dialogue and things, but nothing's matching up with what they're actually doing. So it's complicated what they're saying, but the storytelling from scene to scene's bad. Brian says, lacking the sense of discovery and world building that powered the original, director James Wan settles for a sort of misguided buddy comedy. Like he said, whatever the intent, this doesn't feel like the answer to lift superhero movies out of their slump. And you're right, Brian. Brian's from CNN, also a top critic. Sasky says, from London Evening Standard, overall it's another dead weight to add to the drowning world of superhero movies. Well, that was blunt. And we got some good ones. It keeps its trident high enough as the sea reclaims its hero. Garbage, not saying anything. Why is it good? That's just a stupid phrase. Okay? Alyssa says the movie's clever enough and plenty scary, and there's a sufficient number of jokes to keep the whole thing from getting too self important. Why is that a good thing? It should be fun, but also you should feel like things are important. If they're not, then I guess who cares? Let's keep going. And Mark says Aquaman 2 continues the trend of filmmakers not taking advantage of either the weird possibilities of this character and his world or the easy charm Momoa brings to the part. Alright, it's rotten. Paul just says it's an improvement over the first one, but once again doesn't explain why. Ryder says James Gunn may be scrapping the DCU and starting again from scratch, but it's strange to see a film that's already accepted this fate devoid of any signs of life that will make the powers that be reconsider their direction. Alright. And Kevin also gives a bad one. He says Momoa's performance, like Chris Hemsworth's as Thor, provides diminishing returns. Basically, the act's getting a little old, I think he's trying to say. It's not what it was, and the box office is moving very, very slowly. After a year of lackluster box office disappointments for comic book movies, 2023 ends with the most pointless of them all. Rotten. Felix just basically says that it continues the DCEU flops, alright. And Wendy says, basically it felt incomplete and they were trying to do too much. Tara says, with the only fresh on the page, superhero sequel has comic book violence, creepy monsters. Okay. Once again, not saying exactly what makes that good. If you like creepy monsters and violence, I guess she's thinking you should think it's good, but she's not actually saying why it's good. Alright, let's keep going. David says old tropes, didn't try anything new. And you know what? I'm not going to read every little negative one there, but Rachel's is kind of funny. In this final entry in the DCEU, director James Wan has given us a laborious, reverential, if I'm saying that right, self-serious slog. I like that ending, self-serious slog. That's a tongue twister. Let's keep going. Okay, this is the last page I'm going to take a look at. Newsday on top says a notch down from the original, about par for the Warner DC universe. But rotten. And 3 more rottens, and 2 fresh. The best thing I see here is someone says $200 million worth of eye candy. I'm sure it looks nice for the most part. So I guess there's that. If you want to just go in, shut your brain off, and watch, sparkling waters and fishes and things, I guess you might like it. Ignore the acting, who's in it. Just watch the colors pop on the screen. Then I guess maybe you'll like that $200 million little CGI fest. Oh, wait. One more. Can't end without this. Scott Mendelson, who is actually a huge, huge Star Wars shill. He liked 90% of what the crap Hollywood's put out so far, but probably he hates it, but that's why he's a shill. Anyway, he says, it's another 3-star DC film sequel to a 4-star DC film part 1, but Aquaman 2 is an entertaining, visually spectacular, and wildly innovative standalone action fantasy. If this is the DCU's time to go, James Wan gave us a hell of a show. Doesn't seem that way, Scott. Seems like you write things that are opposite of what's actually going on. By the way, I'm pretty sure Scott defended Amber at some point. I'll end it there and disagree one more time with Scott. If you're not subscribed here, consider it. If you don't, I'll be sad about it, but I'll get over it. See you next time.